G'day everybody, my name is Elliot Waters and you're listening to the Dysregulated podcast. As always, thank you for tuning in. Today's episode, just a quick fortnightly check-in. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, a little bit more than a fortnight. So I thought I'd just jump on and give you guys a bit of a rough overview of what's going on at the moment, what's happening in my world, in my living experience world. The good news is the last couple of episodes you may remember. If you haven't listened, I suggest you do. They're brilliant. Centered on this anxiety attack, this battle that I've been waging. Well, the good news is the battle's been won, but the war continues. And very shortly, I'm going to do a full episode all about this battle that I've had lately. 8 days of it lasted, 8 days. And I want to have a talk about some of the different weapons at my disposal that maybe I was able to use against this anxiety sort of barrage, and then maybe go through a few things I didn't do, which maybe in future I probably should. So I think that'll be a really good episode, and hopefully you guys and hopefully I learn from maybe a couple of mistakes that I did, which maybe prolonged this anxiety attack longer than it needed to be. Because I tell you what, it was very, very intense though. I'm not being too hard on myself. It's very, very difficult when you're in the thick of it, the barrage, to think clearly and come up with some, really good coping strategies. But, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to explain that and why it's very important to try and build some automatic sort of responses towards anxiety and other mood disorders and issues as well. So what's been happening in my world? Well, I am very sleep deprived again because this week is the 5 a.m. starts at work. And yes, I'm very sleep deprived. It's so much so that today I was just floating today. I don't know. I was not anchored at all. I had a pretty good day, but, when I get real short on sleep, I think this is a pretty common phenomena. I tend to disassociate a lot. So, everything sort of doesn't seem real. It's like, is this really going on, Sort of got to pinch yourself to sort of remind yourself, no, this is real life. This is fair income. Let's get into it. So especially when you're at work and customers depend on you and all that sort of stuff. Speaking of customers, now I love customers. I do. But let me tell you, the last couple of days, I've had so much interaction with customers, just constant, which, is my job at Bunnings Warehouse, one of Australia's great icons. That's my job. But as we know, I have social anxiety disorder and the high functioning autism. Those two in particular really make social interactions quite hard. And what that means for me is that my capacity is a lot lower than some other people, for example. So I get burnt out really quickly with social interactions. Like every shift, I'll tell you right now, every shift I do at Bunnings, I get burnt out around the 3-hour mark. And then it's just pumping the caffeine and just trying to do my best and hang on. It's really, really hard. It's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, has my ability when it comes to social communications and interactions, has it improved? And I guess this probably deserves an episode on itself as well. But the sort of conclusion I came to, which I haven't really thought that much about, I need to flesh it out, is that maybe my skills of navigating social interactions have improved, but my capacity to engage maybe hasn't. I think that's an interesting point because you think about, there's a lot of talk in the mental health sort of area that, quiet in the mind and all that. It's a skill that you're practicing. It's like a muscle. The brain's, like a muscle. If you connect, if you do your meditation and mindfulness and do journaling and all that sort of stuff, your neurons change and everything goes with it. But it's interesting. I don't think my capacity for social interactions has improved over the years. If anything, I think it's been diminished. But at the same time, like I said, my ability to engage and actually have a successful conversation with people, interaction, that has definitely improved. And I've proven that to be, that's definitely a good thing. I've sort of learned how to navigate that because obviously, Asperger's or autism in particular, these sorts of things don't come naturally, and it certainly didn't when I was younger, but it sort of comes naturally now. But my reserves, my fuel tank though, I don't think has really grown along with the development of my skills. So I need to flesh that one out a little bit more, but I certainly will be doing that. I saw the psychologist yesterday, so my Therapy Reflections 2 will be coming out very soon, which is exciting, very exciting. It's going to be, I'm really liking the fact that I'm going to do this and report after every therapy because quite often I go in there and again, I just start flapping my gums and all of a sudden I'm back in the past in this terrible moment, or I'm in the future and something really bad's happening, and I start disassociating, as sort of a defensive sort of thing, because we're sort of role playing a bit. And sometimes I sort of walk out and very easily think, what did we sort of go through there? And I really wanted to record that episode yesterday, and that's what I really want to do moving forward, which I did with the first one, is record these reflections straight after. Like, even if it means jump in the car, I've got my recording gear in there. All right, this is what we spoke about. So the last session I'm pretty clear on, which is good, because we didn't really go into that sort of memories and sort of future sort of stuff. It was more, as you'll discover, a bit more hands-on around sort of finances and lowering the anxiety around that for me, and some other coping strategies that maybe I could employ. So it was a bit more black and white, I suppose, and less sort of conceptual, which is where a lot of my demons seem to lie. So that's coming out soon, so that'll be great. Spotify. A lot of you are listening to me right now on Spotify. If you are, please, could you rate the show 5 stars? Because it's good for the algorithm. And speaking of Spotify, the whole Wrapped, is it Wrapped or Spotify Unwrapped or whatever it's called? So that came out, which was very interesting, as I expected. Oasis, my equal favourite band with AC/DC, came out on top, and AC/DC was second. But the number one song was Lying to You? Lying From You by Linkin Park. And it said that the peak of me listening to that song was in February. Now, the interesting thing is, in February, I was at Ijmu. So when I was listening so every morning I used to wake up and I used to have a shower and I used to listen to this song every morning. Every morning I was there, 6 weeks, every morning I was listening to this song. And I sort of forgot in a way that I did that little sort of coping thing, try and start the day off on the right foot. Bit of a, it's got a bit of a vibe to it. But yeah, looking at that, and that was my number one. So I would never have picked it. It's definitely not the song I would have thought would come out on top. But it goes to show that, Linkin Park were a big part of my experience at Ijmu at James Fletcher Hospital. So thank you to Linkin Park. But we also on Spotify for podcasters, we actually get a Wrapped or Unwrapped or whatever it's called as well. So I've got some statistics that I'm going to read out very quickly, which of course I don't have ready. So let's have a look. What can I say? Say this is, again, classic ADHD. I'm just cramming everything and just hoping that it'll all come out okay. Spotify podcasting. Spotify for podcast. I'm telling you, trust me, this will be worth it. So anyway, while we wait, how's the weather, eh? Yeah, good one, Elliot. Good one. All right. So yes, Spotify, yes. Please just go to the home. Okay, so 31 of you legends had my podcast, this podcast, as the number one show that you listen to. So to the 31 of you, can I just say thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. I do. It's very validating, and I'm hoping that I'm able to, sort of, convey a message that is hopeful, I hope, but at the same time very real and very genuine. So, when things aren't going so good, as we know, I'm not going to shy away from that. I'm gonna let you know all about it, because that's just as important as the wins, the losses, and lots can be learnt there. Anyway, we know that. So thank you to the 31 that have this show as number one. Thank you so much. There was 100% increase on subscribers, which was great. There was 143% increase of streams this year compared to last. And what was the other metric? Oh, and I recorded 7% more material as well. Now, what's interesting is that in my Spotify Unwrapped, this podcast, my own podcast, came in at third. So that tells me that I need to be pumping more episodes out there. It seems like people are listening, but there's just not enough of this out there. So great news, everyone. I'm going to try and increase, the frequency in which that these are coming out, because there's so much to say. And the reason why I don't do more episodes, seriously, is this bloody inner critic, because I will record something like this and I'll delete it at the end and go, nah, that was rubbish, start again. And then, 3 hours have gone by and I've recorded like 10 episodes worth, but I've deleted all of them. And then I think, you know what, I'm too tired, I'm not doing it. So I'm really going to push hard against the inner critic and really, try and get some more episodes going. Because again, remember, I always say, a lot of remembering going on in this episode, that if you were to overlay a mood chart with my podcast, with the podcast episode output chart, say, there would be a correlation, probably an association between podcast episode output and mood. So if mood's high, output is high. If mood's low, output is low. So again, if I'm pumping them out, you'll know that I'm winning the battle against the inner critic and that anxiety. And if there's not that many coming out, well, things might be a bit tough. And actually, I did have a few people reach out to me a couple of weeks ago, and I should have mentioned this as well. And I want to say thank you for that, because there was a difficult little time about a month ago, and there was a bit of a gap between episodes, and a few people noticed that and checked in, and I've got to say, you're legends. Seriously, you're legends, and thank you so much. We need more people like you. But the good news is I'm all right. There's plenty of material coming. That is the best news of all. Anything else to report? Another thing I was thinking today, I was walking in the sun, so summer is here tomorrow, I think tomorrow's the 1st of December. So Newcastle, New South Wales, Australia is getting quite warm and humid. And I was walking in the sun and I thought, just being in the sunlight, and having warmer days, it just lifts your mood, it might not necessarily be enough to completely, insulate yourself against a poor low mood sort of outcome. But if you have seasonal affective disorder, of course, that's a different story, which that's been floated around with me, which I don't think I've got. But at the same time, I still think just being in the sun, the warmer weather, it's good signs. And I was very grateful, we talk about gratitude in the psychological sort of arena. Gratitude is sort of a buzzword, but it is very important. And I did take a moment when I got to my car after I bought a brand new computer, which I was also very grateful for. I stood at my car and thought, you know what, this is good. Yes, there's some stuff swirling around in my head and sometimes I can't see sort of through the fog. But in this moment right here, right now, I was very mindful and very grateful as well. And that's really good. Sort of set the tone for the rest of the day. The last thing, I promise, on our little catch up, is the Black Dog Institute. You may know, hopefully, that I volunteer with the Black Dog Institute and do presentations on behalf of the Institute, talking about my story, very similar to sort of the podcast. If you go to the early episodes, you'll actually find one of those. I did it at a town hall event at Kiama. Anyway, have you noticed I'm talking a lot? I don't know what's going on. Is this a manic episode coming on? There's a bit of pressured speech. I'm not sure. But the good news is, or the news is, that a lot of our programs that we deliver are getting redone, and then we're going out in the field and we're presenting more. So I've got some microphones ready. I've got some lapels ready to go. When I get stuck into these presentations out at the schools, I'm going to try and record most of them, and partly just so I can listen back, which I'm going to hate, but I need to do it just to see if, I'm hitting the points that I want to hit. And then also I'd love to upload them too and have them on the podcast, be like, hey, this is what we're doing in the field. It's not just me talking on the microphone. Here's the real deal. So, and once that's all sorted as well, for the Australian-based listeners, of which there's quite a few, thank you to the Australians. What was it, 68%, I think, of listeners, I think it was from Australia, which makes sense. The good news is that figure, that's actually getting lower and lower each year. The first one, it was about 92%, so that's really good. So thank you to all the international engagers and listeners. But for the Australian-based, in particular, listeners, I will put some details up at some point about how you can book in a Black Dog Institute presentation for a school or community group. You can have me come out and present. I would love to do that. Or you can have one of the other amazing lived experience presenters as well. So Black Dog, which is the I would say, world leader when it comes to preventative sort of research and psychological therapeutic sort of interventions and all that sort of stuff, and also education as well. They're really good programs and they're only going to get better. So, if I can get out there or one of the other great lived experience presenters can get out there to your community or your school group, that would be amazing, and I'll put some details up about that as well. All right, well, I'm definitely waffling. I have waffled. This episode probably could have gone for 5 minutes, but we're up to 15. So if you've listened this far, thank you. You must be one of the 31 that have this podcast as your top show. So thank you for listening. I really do appreciate it to all of you. I really, really do. And if you've got anything you'd like to reach out to me for, because I'm in the mood to sort of, I'm in the mood at the moment, the last couple of days, now I'm out of this anxiety sort of thing. I'm in the mood to sort of talk and communicate to people a little bit more, although work's very difficult. Anyway, moving on. If you'd like to reach out, of course, you can do so at elliot.t.waters on Instagram or at thedysregulated.podcast. That's enough for me. I need to have some Seroquel and go to sleep, I think. I've got a very early start tomorrow, and our thoughts, we're starting to ramp up. We need to sort of nip this in the bud. So I'm going to go have me meds. I'm going to have a lay down. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and I'll see you next time here on the Dysregulated podcast.